What's up, it's Sam Walker here with Ringside Intel, here to talk about UFC 302 main card predictions. Let's jump right into it. The main event puts Islam Makhachev, the UFC lightweight champion, in front of Dustin Poirier, the former interim lightweight champion. And this is a pretty interesting match. I mean, Dustin Poirier is perhaps one of the most liked individuals in the sport. He's had a great story coming up from humble beginnings to become one of the biggest stars that the sport has produced and one of the more consistent draws for fans. Now, this is going to be his last time trying to get a shot at the undisputed title. He's had previous attempts, one at Khabib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev's coach and mentor at UFC 242. He also had a more recent attempt against Charles Oliveira. Both of those did not go well. He was finished by submission in those two fights. And unfortunately, I think we're going to run into more of the same. Poirier is someone who has the power to be a game changer. He's someone whose striking credentials cannot be questioned. He stood in the pocket and traded with some of the best strikers that the lightweight division has seen and come out on top. Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, to name a few. However, we're looking at a guy who's at the end of his career, a career filled with a lot of wars. He said it himself. He's considering retirement, win or lose, and that's not the sort of talk you want to hear from a fighter going into a bout of this magnitude. That being said, Poirier does have power to be a game changer. He is someone that can knock out just about anyone in the world. He's also got very, very underrated skills on the ground as well, but Islam Makhachev has emerged into this force of nature, and while we haven't really seen the fully realized version of him fighting against true lightweights, because this is the first time he will be defending his belt against a lightweight, since the other two times were against Alexander Volkanovski, the former UFC featherweight champion. He has had this exponential growth in his striking skills, as we saw against Charles Oliveira, and we also know what he is capable of on the ground. I think this is a rough fight for Poirier, and as much as my heart wants to see him win, my mind says it doesn't go quite that way. I've got Makhachev by a late submission. I'm thinking about fourth round. He sinks in a rear naked choke to end the bout. In the co-main event, we have Sean Strickland versus Paulo Costa, the former UFC middleweight champion versus the former title challenger. Without getting into the personality dynamics in play with two of the more polarizing individuals on the UFC roster, we can't ignore the fact that this is a 5-round co-main event, and those 2 extra rounds are crucial. In a 3-rounder, I see Paulo Costa overwhelming Sean Strickland with forward pressure and hard strikes. Costa has pretty noticeable cardio issues, as we saw against Luke Rockhold. We've seen that a couple other times. Robert Whittaker as well, kind of fading a little bit down the stretch. You don't want to fade against Sean Strickland. You simply don't. Like, he's someone who continues putting on pace, continue putting on volume, and while he may lack power, it just keeps coming at you, and it's very relentless. I think that relentlessness is going to work in his favor. I think he gets a late round stoppage for himself, and maybe about the 4th round or so, when it becomes true championship rounds and Costa being depleted, having spent his reserves trying to score that quick knockout, I think this is where the table turns for him, and I see him losing this one by TKO. Next up, we have Kevin Holland fighting Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, and this is a return to middleweight for Kevin Holland. Oleksiejczuk has, of course, been at middleweight for quite some time after dropping from 205. I don't really know what to think about this fight because Kevin Holland is so wildly inconsistent. There are a lot of different things that he is capable of doing that he doesn't choose to do, and I think the Michael Venom Page fight is a prime example of that. He was someone who ignored a lot of his strengths in order to try to play to the crowd and give them a fight that they kind of wanted. And it didn't work out in his favor, obviously. If he tries that here, he's really leaving a lot on the table. I don't think there should be any doubt about Kevin Holland being a submission artist. He's someone who has pulled off some fantastic submissions. And Mikhail is a person who has been submitted quite a few times. Out of his 7 losses, 5 of them have been due to being forced to tap out. I don't see how Holland isn't able to get that done if he chooses to. But after the MVP fight, maybe he does err on that side of caution. Maybe he does decide, hey, I just need to get this win. And he goes out there and tries to implement that game plan. Give me Kevin Holland to get a 3rd round submission. We have a heavyweight contest between Jailton Almeida and Alexander Romanov. I think Almeida holds his position. Romanov is not someone who has a long list of hard punching finishes. He's not someone who's this overwhelming ground force. He's sort of a guy who can get it done, but he wins a lot by decision and doesn't form much of a finishing threat to the average fighter. In fact, every step of competition that he's had has not gone well for him. So I think Almeida is this overwhelming physical force that Romanov may not be able to stand up to. I think the combination of Almeida's wrestling with his jiu-jitsu puts Romanov in a very, very bad position. And while Almeida may not be able to earn the submission in this fight, considering that Romanov has not been submitted in his career at this point, I do think that he does get a decision win here. And the main card opener puts Randy Brown in front of Elizeu Zaleski. Aside from the possibility that Izzy Dos Santos, who has the nickname Capoeira, uses that nickname and that martial art style to put together some ridiculous spinning kick finish like he did against Sean Strickland some years ago, I think Randy Brown should win this. He's the bigger guy. He's more physical. He's got a significant height and reach advantage, very strong, and very, very tough to deal with in the clinch. I kind of don't see the true avenue for Dos Santos to win outside of one of those wild strikes happening to land. So give me Randy Brown by decision. Probably going to be a very tough fought action fight. And that will do it for the UFC 302 main card predictions. Remember to like, subscribe, share, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell that friend to tell 10 more friends. Stay locked into Ringside Intel. I'm Ant Walker. Peace.